Thank you all so much for joining the exciting world of multifamily real estate meetup, where we help grow your mind and grow your wealth. And today we have our one and only Dr. Nkem Story. So you guys are in for a treat. I'm going to be doing an introduction here real quick, and then I'll pass it on to her. She doesn't really require any form of formal introduction. She's one of ours, and I'll start once we hit 6:05.
I like it.
Again, thank you all so much for joining. For folks that are just joining right now, we're asking, please drop where you're joining us from so that we can identify your location. We see people from all over the world joining right now. This is amazing to see. Several years ago, it was just a little meetup in Baltimore, Maryland. And now we have people from all over the world joining the meetup. So this is outstanding. All right, it's 6:05. We can go ahead and get started. I'm just going to speak from my heart. I don't need to read any bio here. I'm just going to talk about, Dr. Nkem here and who she is to us, what she means to us, and why she's here right now to speak to you all. Dr. Nkem Story, she's an ER physician. She's an amazing CEO of Phoenix Capital. She co-founded Phoenix Capital 2 years ago, right? And so far, she's been driving it really hard, and a lot of people are looking up to her to be an influence. She's a thought leader, and I'll leave her to come up and introduce herself formally, but she's a force to reckon with. So without further ado, I'll pass it on to Dr. Nkem to do a formal introduction of herself. And I'm sure you all today are going to learn a lot from her. So let me pass it on to you, Dr. Nkem. Please take it over.
I got you. Hi, everyone. As Tenny said, my name is Nkem Story, and I will jump into a presentation. But first of all, I just wanted to say thank you to Excite Capital for having me here. It's really an honor to come back here and kind of just share my story. And that's what I want to do. So I'm going to jump in. I won't take any fun from the presentation. I want to jump in right away and go. So please tell me if you can see my screen and if you can see the right screen. Okay. And I'll make it big. Okay, great. And I'll move this right here. Okay. Can everyone see? Yes, everyone can see. You can see the full screen, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I can see it.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay, great. So today I'll be talking about from ER physician to empowered entrepreneur, my journey. And that's exactly what it's going to be. I'm excited to be here, and I really just want to share my journey. So a little bit about how I got here today. This is actually the first meetup that I ever attended. And then it was also the first meetup that I ever spoke at. And so to come back here again, to do this all over and to really share the story of share what that 2 years feels like, it just really brings a smile to my face. My hope today is that I inspire one person. And that if you hear my story, that you will at the end of tonight, you'll say, I'm ready to take that step. I'm ready to take that leap. And I want to do it. I'm going to be candid. I told myself I will not cry. So I'll slow down a lot so that I don't cry. But I will recount as much as I can what these last few years have looked like. I will share struggles. I'll share triumphs. I'll share joys. I'll share sadness and everything in between, because I really want to give you a full glimpse of what it has been, so that you know that in the journey of becoming whatever you want to become, you're not alone. So this is where it all started. It felt like the road less traveled. The question is, how did I get here today? How did an ER doctor take a leap into real estate investing in order to build Phoenix? What was on my heart? And the best way I can describe it is I wanted more. I was discontent. I was I don't think I was unhappy, but I knew that inside of me, I was called to do more, to be more. And in that stage of my life, I felt like I was just complacent. Um, and that's when I knew that something needed to change. I don't want to sit here today and tell you that I had the perfect roadmap. I just knew deep down that I wanted more, and where I was heading is I didn't think is where I was supposed to be going. So my journey is messy. There was doubt, there were fears, there were tears, there was a lot of journaling, there was a lot of sitting on the carpet in this room and being like, Nkem, what are you thinking? But then at some point there was faith, and there was massive action, and there was dreaming, and that dream slowly started becoming a reality. And so it felt like when I was called to do more and to be more, that's when it really took off. And for me, it was more impact, but also more freedom and more life. That's really how that road less traveled really started. So, man, I love the ER. I loved the ER. I was that doctor that, like, when I walked into shift, like my nurses were high-fiving me and were like, we're gonna have a great shift. I worked hard. I worked really hard, and I thrived. When I came out of school, I was like, I'm going to be the best ER physician. And on a busy Friday night for in the ER, like I could go from a cardiac arrest to delivering a baby, to standing on top of a bed and reducing an old woman's hip. And that was like, it was, it was amazing. And I love it. And I still loved it. But at some point, something changed. It almost felt like the scales fell out of my eyes, is the best way that I can describe it. And it still went back to that wanting more. I wasn't sure what that more felt like, but I was determined to find out. Like, I was like, if this is an ache, if this is something, I'm going to figure out what that looked like. And I want to say this, and I am grateful for the life that I've got to lead. It has been amazing, and it has been beautiful, and I have so many things that I'm blessed and so many things that I can count on. But there was still that more, and at some point I was losing sight of what that felt like. And that's really when I could say I had a wake-up call. COVID-19 happened, and for a lot of ER physicians, it was really hard. But for me, it was especially harder from a personal standpoint and really from a professional standpoint. I lost really close family members during COVID, and then work wasn't fun. We were unsure of what was going on, but even more than that, we were losing jobs. We lost hours. So like our full time before we started was like, I don't know, we were working like 150 hours. And at some point during COVID, we were working 60, 70 hours. And a lot of my colleagues had kids in private school. They had this life that they had already built, and they needed money. And so some of my coworkers or some of my colleagues, I remember one of my really close colleagues was working five jobs, like five different hospitals, just to get hours back. And I told myself, this isn't what I want to do. This isn't how I want to live. What else is there? In all of that, oh, you guys, I have a cough. So if you hear me cough, just like know that I'm battling a terrible cough. So in all of that, I started really seeing what job insecurity felt like and what financial instability felt like. It was, we became vulnerable from a professional standpoint. And even at that point, a lot of like private equity groups started coming in, and medicine started becoming more of a business. But it still kept getting worse. Around that time, our company, they really felt like, you know what, we can't be paying you as salaried workers anymore. You're going to eat what you kill. So you're going to be paid based on the patients you saw. So if I went to work and I like saw two patients, I made no money. And I was like, all of this was just building up to Nkem. What else is there? You love this, but this cannot become a means to an end. And it really, really took a turn when one of my closest friends, and I recall this story so well because I was at home and she was at work. And it was a Wednesday evening, and she got an email while at work. And because we were such close friends, she just screenshotted the email and she sent it to me. And the email was like a vague email, and it was like, you need to report to the hospital tomorrow morning. You have a meeting at this time. And it didn't say much more. Like, you guys, I remember, you know how in your email, like if you like pull down, it keeps rolling to get new emails. And I just kept searching. I kept rolling. And I was like, where's my own email? Why am I not getting this email? Is this email good? Is it bad? What am I missing out on? And to my dismay, and to our dismay, the next morning, she and another one of our close colleagues got fired. And we never knew that like a job that like we were saving lives in the middle of a pandemic, that they would be like, hey, you guys, you have to go. And that was the biggest eye opener for me. It was truly the catalyst that set everything off. I was going to figure out how to not rely solely on an employer for my means. And also I was going to figure it out for my friends, for my family, for my colleagues. And that's how the idea of passive income really started for me. I understood, I started to understand it's okay to build wealth, and it's okay to bring that to others, and it's okay to bring it to our healthcare community, and even to just bring it to our community at large. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm ready to figure it out. So that was the wake-up call. And then the turning point was when I met Excite. So I met Excite at a conference, and I will say this, they have been a significant part of my growth. And what started as like this casual happy hour, let's go get drinks, it turned into a partnership and a friendship that I am forever grateful for, because it truly has changed the trajectory of my life and where I'm going. And it really started, and that's how it started. And then it built from there. But it wasn't just like hey, we click, let's do this. Like when they started telling me and educating me about the idea of passive investing, I scrutinized everything they said. I asked every single question that you could think of. And I was like, are they the real deal? Does this make sense? Is this what I had been looking for? And I decided and took a leap. And you'll hear a bunch of times where I wasn't sure, but I learned, I got educated, and I just left and I invested with them. And then after that, I called them and I said, hey, listen, I want you guys to mentor me, because I was like, this makes sense. And this is what I need to teach to my community. I need to bring the idea of passive investing so that the people that I know will do what they love, will save lives and still grow wealth. And that's really how it started. And before, and I love the fact that I'm a physician, and I'm so grateful for that. But before, I used to think that, education just involved schooling and books. And I learned that the biggest investment that I could make was in myself and my growth. And that's where it really, really started for me. They taught me everything. They taught me how to underwrite, review deals. They taught me really how to build my business, Phoenix. And I will say that my first Phoenix deal that I did solo, I called Excite and I was like, hey, I've reviewed this deal. I think it's a good deal. Review it. I need your stamp of approval. And I went out, and that deal is like, my investors are like thriving in that deal. It's cash flowing and it's doing really well. And that's how it really started. And that's how it's been going. But first, before I built Phoenix, I had to grow. And in my quest for growth, I started I knew I had to change my circle. And I knew I had to change my circle of influence and the people that surrounded me. I knew that like I would reach out to more people who were invested in their growth, because that was the only way that I could become the woman who would run Phoenix Capital Investment. And so, this specific time, I was speaking with a woman investor, and she was just telling me her story. And at the end of the conversation was so amazing. I was so empowered. I'm like, we are doing this, like this is happening. And she calls me back and she says, I think you need to go to this thing called Date with Destiny. And she said, when she told me you need to go to Date with Destiny, I kind of chuckled, because I was like, what type of name is Date with Destiny? Sorry, Tony. But and I just like, I just ignored it. And she called me, it was 3 weeks to the time that she told me that I think you need to do this. It was about 3 weeks. And the week of Date with Destiny, she called me back, and it was a Monday, and she said, I don't know why, but she said, I think this is part of your growth, and I think you really need to go to this conference. Number one, this Date with Destiny was very expensive, and I was like, I'm just wasting money. Like, what is he going to teach me that I don't already know? I was wrong. And so that was on a Monday. She called me. I woke up on a Tuesday. I looked at my schedule, and I was working every day that week. I looked at, I woke up on Tuesday, and I was like, maybe I should go to Date with Destiny, even if I don't know all that it entailed. But I just felt like when I started growing, doors started opening. And so it was Tuesday. I worked, the Date with Destiny started Thursday morning. I worked Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I worked every day. And I will tell you this, my Friday shift was a night shift, overnight shift. There was no way I was going to get out of this shift. But the second I entertained the idea of going, stuff just started happening. I sent out a blast message to my colleagues, and I was like, you guys, I don't know why. I don't have all the answers, but I think I need to go to this. I think it's part of my growth. It's part of where I'm heading. And one of my colleagues called me back, and she said, if you had asked me a day before, I would have told you no. If you had asked me 3 hours before, I would have told you no. She said, I had a climbing trip on Saturday morning, and I was supposed to go, so I could never have worked your Friday night shift. But she said, the weather forecast for the weekend just changed, and my climbing trip got canceled. And she's like, I'll work your Friday night. And just like that, everything just started working out. All my shifts just cleared up. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go. When I got there, I'm telling you the story because it's really important, because when I got there, I was still not a believer. Like, I was like, why are all these people acting weird, acting crazy? I had so much skepticism, so much judgment. But then that slowly started to chip away. The callus around my heart or my mind, or the idea of growth and mindset, it just started to chip away. And I left those 6 days with a renewed vision, with a renewed plan on really how I was going to become an entrepreneur, how I was going to start taking the steps every day to grow Phoenix. And I said before, I always felt like, we pay for education and we pay for books, but like sometimes the biggest investment that I made that day was in myself and in showing up there and learning that I could rewrite my story, and that the limiting beliefs that were holding me back didn't need to hold me back anymore. And the coolest part about that trip was that I met my business partner on that trip. And so I think about what happens if I didn't go. And I think about the fact that I just let myself be open to the idea of growing. So but it wasn't easy. I had to overcome doubt after doubt, because the truth is I was doing okay. I was doing well. And why did I think that I needed to veer into this path? But I knew that I could impact lives, and I knew that I could really help people and give people value. And so the internal fears came. The internal fears were like, do I have what it takes to succeed? Will I be successful? Will anything of value come out of this? And then the external fears I had, I had people who really, really loved me, who said, stay in your lane. Like, you did medicine, you did it well. Why even consider that? But I knew, and someone here should be listening to this, like, I knew that my determination was louder, and the path that I was taking was even louder, and the change that I was going to make was even louder than my fears. And so I just started working harder. I told myself this. I said, I might not need to share every dream and every idea with people who don't see my vision and don't see my renewed vision and my renewed purpose. And so I started keeping it to myself, and I started surrounding myself with people who my dreams didn't scare them, and their massive dreams didn't scare me either. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm onto something. I realized that what I could become and the value that I was bringing to people, it became really louder than my fears. And the fears are still there. Like, even ask Excite Capital right before this meetup, I was like, I'm terrified. I won't know what to say, but you know what? You still push past that, because courage is acting, in spite of that fear. You can, your heart can your heart can race and your hands can shake, but you still show up because you know that the reason, you know why you're showing up. And that is the most important thing in trying to overcome your doubt and overcome your fears. I remember one of my first real estate investment conferences. It was at a hotel that the hotel was on like the road floor, and the conference was downstairs, and it was this beautiful long set of stairs. And I remember I stood at the top of those stairs, and I saw people, like, people were excited to be there. People came with their friends, their partners. It just looked like this conference was like a big family. And I stood at the top of the stairs, and I was like, I'm here by myself. I'm not sure. And once again, it was that doubt that was creeping in. But I was like, I pushed past everything, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna meet people. I'm gonna grow. I'm gonna build relationships, because that's what my people are expecting from me. And so, and that's how it started. That was how every day I made the decision that no matter what, in building, in building Phoenix and building my expansive life, that I would squash the doubts, I would squash the fear, and I would just keep going. So it started with laying the groundwork. And I'll tell you that, like I told you earlier, I started off as a passive investor, but I realized very, very quickly that I didn't just want to be a passive investor. And the people here who, they love what they're doing, and they are like, I just want to be a passive investor. But I realized that for me specifically, I wanted to bring these incredible opportunities that I was seeing, that I was a part of, to other people. I wanted to show them that, like, they could really dream, and everything that they wanted could actually come true. Like, they could hope and dream, and it could start from this. It could start from, one investment to another, and it could start from building portfolios for their family and generations to come. And the more I learned, the more I knew that, like, these opportunities, I'm going to share it with others, that they could still really do what they love, and they could still grow wealth. And that is really how and why Phoenix was created. And that was when I really started laying the groundwork, when I really started when it was working on myself, working on my mindset, and realizing that, like, we can bring this to our community, to our people, to our family, to our friends, and then to the world at large. And that was the groundwork that I laid. But then I hit the ground running. And this is where the real work started. I read tons of books. I almost felt like I went to school again. I read professional financial books, personal development books. I signed up for more Tony Robbins conferences, because I knew that, one, I knew proximity is power, and he says that, but I also knew that I needed to really grow, and that was the steps I was taking. Another thing that I did was I built a solid online footprint. It didn't start day one, but I made a decision that I would share my story, and I would tell people about it, and I would empower people to grow. It started with, I think Leslie's on this call. It started with Leslie and I. We said we'd keep each other accountable, and we would just share stories, and we'd just post, and we picked LinkedIn. And little did I know that it would build onto something that now, I get direct messages from young women who tell me, who are like, I read your stories every day, and I'm inspired that that you are able to share this, because it's really uplifting me, and it's helping me to make decisions that I need to make to move my life forward today. And that is humbling, and that's just like, it blows my mind. And it just started with the decision that we are going to share stories with the world. But I also started attending a lot of real estate conferences. I wanted to network with other real estate investors, to kind of learn how things are done, to grow. But even more than that, one of the things that I did, and Excite taught me, was I wanted to, after meeting all these real estate investors, I wanted it to go build our community and to meet our ideal client and my ideal avatar where they were. So I started going to conferences where the exact person who I wanted to be part of our Phoenix community, who I knew would believe in my dream and my vision, where they were, I met them there, and I told them, and I shared about multifamily real estate investing. I told them about how it changed my life, how it helped me grow. And and it just started, and that was really the that was how it really started, and it built from there, because I noticed that there was such lack of knowledge. This was such an amazing asset class, and no one was talking about it in our healthcare community. No one was talking about it in our community at large. And so when we met them where they were, we started educating, started teaching them, and that's how we started growing. And one of the things that I did was, then I created a webinar, and I said that I would bring experts to educate our community. And then I would become the expert and start talking about it and start teaching about it. And that's how the webinar started. And that's how it started growing. And really, our goal was to cement our presence in the market, where when you thought about Phoenix, you thought about growth, you thought about empowerment, you thought about community, and you thought about wealth. You thought about all the possibilities that could happen. And it really started with growing. It really started with just building that momentum. And that's how it started. The next thing that I did was, I decided that in order for people to really trust me, then I needed to tell them about, one, my story, two, my journey, and three, about multifamily real estate investing, and even tell them about entrepreneurship, how, I started as one thing and then I became all these other things. And so I started speaking. And my goal in speaking was to inspire change and to create impact. I wanted to let someone in the audience who was lost or confused really feel like they can do it too, that I wasn't special, I wasn't different. I just decided, I made a decision, and I was resilient, and I was determined that I was going to do it. And so whatever opportunity I got, I just started telling my story, and I started telling the power of how my life changed from this. One of the biggest things that I did, which as you're starting to do, is to find mentors. I found some solid mentors in multifamily real estate investing, and actually also outside of it. So I remember standing in line at a conference, and this guy towers over me, standing behind me. His name is Bob Frazier. And I didn't know at that point, but he's Bob Frazier, and he is one of the co-founders of Aspen Funds. And he asked me, he said, well, what are you doing here? And I was like, well, I'm like, I'm an ER physician. And he goes, well, even more, why are you here? And I said, this is why I'm here. And this is my story. And the line was so long that by the time we got to the front of the line, he said, let me buy you lunch. And he said, I want to hear more about your story. And that relationship built. And I remember at the end of lunch, I was going back to the conference, and he was going to get on his private jet and go to Colorado. And I was like, I want to learn how you're doing, how you're thinking, I wanted to learn as much as I could. And at the end of that lunch, he invited me to a small, close mastermind of people that he wanted to inspire. And it was at that same mastermind that invited me to speak, I think 4 or 5 months later, because he's like, you have to tell your story to the world. And I remember at at an event I was at, I met Dr. Aluko, and he's a chief medical officer of Ernst & Young, and he's a cardiologist, and he kind of veered away from actual practice and started doing more of consultancy. And I was just impressed with his story and how he did it. And I took a bold step one day, and I went up to him and I said, I followed you. I see what you're doing. I like what you're doing. And I said, I want 2 days a year. I said, I'm asking for 2 days a year to review my plan and to review my vision and my purpose and where I'm going. And I said, I think that like your input would be significantly beneficial to my growth. And we've been doing that for about a year and a half. And it has just been fantastic because he's asked me hard questions and he's helped me grow. And one of my amazing mentors, again, is Excite Capital, and in real estate investing, from the start, I knew that like in order to go far, you link arms with the right people, and they have walked with me every step of the way. And where we are today is just like a really amazing testimony of the power of mentorship and the power of relationships. And I can't say enough about that. When I started embracing this new path, I rewrote my personal narrative. That is why it was so important for me to grow in the beginning. I had this major identity shift where I realized that I didn't only have to be a physician, and that was not my whole identity. I could be a real estate entrepreneur, I could be a speaker, I could be a coach, I could be all these other things, and I didn't have to be one thing. And that, as tiny as that sounds, that was such a big shift in my story and in my narrative. And if you're here thinking that you can only be one thing, you can only be a teacher or an accountant or a lawyer, that's a lie. We are multifaceted human beings, and you can be anything you want. You just have to make that decision. My peer group changed. The people who were bringing me down, the people who were just who questioned everything, I just thought, well, these are not the people that I'm going to grow with. And like I told you guys earlier, I started surrounding myself with people who their dreams blew my mind. And I was like, this is what I want, because then my dreams weren't scary anymore. My dreams weren't unattainable, because I'm like, if they're going after that, then I can go after these same things. And little by little by little, all of it started happening. So don't be afraid to change your circle of influence. If you know that like you're destined, you're determined to grow, don't be afraid to be like, I'm going to change my circle of influence, because it's very important. So this journey, it changed my life. I realized that nothing is impossible. I realized that there became this level of faith that in everything that I did, and I wasn't afraid anymore. And the more I grew, the more I realized that I could soar, that I could become the leader who really inspires other people. I can become the entrepreneur who can take down, $50 million deals and more. But it started with that level of faith that like, this is possible. My confidence soared, my network expanded, and everything just became possible. It finally dawned on me one day that I could become the woman who wore scrubs in the morning and who helped people grow wealth in the evening. And when I realized that, and then I was like, okay, well, nothing is impossible, that I can do this and I can still impact lives and I can still make a difference. And then that's when it just all took off, because at that point, whatever I felt like I could bring value to people, however I felt that I could do that, I was like, nothing's stopping me. We're doing it. We're attaining new heights. We're building a community, and we're growing. My biggest, on the screen, you'll see a bunch of successes, but my biggest success today happened about a year ago. I attended a conference, and I didn't know this, but a woman came up to me at the conference and she talked to me a little bit about Phoenix. And I didn't know this at that time, but she just kept kind of watching what I was doing, how I interacted with people. And a few days after the conference, she sent me a WhatsApp message and she said, hey, is this a good time to call you? And I was like, absolutely. I'm not working. Call me. I'll talk to anyone anytime. And she called me and she said, she said, I am so proud of what you are doing. And she said, a lot of us women, she said, we were too afraid to follow our dreams and to grow. And she said, now we feel stuck. And she said, I watched you. And she said, I am so proud of you. I didn't know this woman. I had spoken to her for like 5 minutes. And then it got better, because she said, I have 2 daughters and I want you to mentor them. And she said, if they even think like you think, it will be a success. They will be a success. And I realized that day that I couldn't stop what I was doing. I realized that day that what I was doing was bigger than me, and I had to keep going. I had to keep thriving. I had to keep growing. If not for me, for those little girls who were teenagers and about to start college, who had so many questions in their mind. And I needed to tell them that like they can be whatever they want, they can do whatever they want. And that to me was like one of my biggest successes. And we've been growing at Phoenix, and we're slowly changing lives, and it excites me. Dr. Cummings is in Zanzibar right now, and I sent him our newest investment opportunity. I've been sending out emails to our community, and he read one of my emails. And 2 nights ago, I think at like 2 a.m., I don't know what time it was in Zanzibar, he texted me and he said, "Hey, I want in on this deal. Don't leave me out. I'm traveling. And when I get back, I'm moving." But I was like, he goes, "I see the timeline. So just know that I'm in." And the stories like that have started to, they've started to, they've started to happen, and they're happening more and more. And every time it happens, I'm humbled, I'm tickled, I'm excited because we're making a difference and we're helping people grow wealth, something that I never even thought was possible in my like small little life of like driving to the ER. But the voices of the people who have empowered me as I empower others have just been amazing, humbling, enlightening for me. And I'm thoroughly grateful for where I am, where I'm heading, where I'm going. And I want to tell you this, that my story, and not exactly my story, but the like of my story can be yours as well. I said at the beginning that I really just wanted to, I hope that one person would be inspired today. And that's all I really want. I want someone here to sit and question and think, can I do this? Can I go, I'm so uncomfortable. I'm so, or actually I'm too comfortable, but I'm not happy in where I am. And I want to grow and I want to change and I want to become better. If there's one person here that says that today, like I'll be just as happy and just as successful. If you ask yourself, what path am I supposed to be on? Or what dream have I hidden in my back pocket that is time to come out? It's time to grow. It's time to flourish. What seed have I neglected that I need to sow now? That is what I hope. That is what I'm hoping. And that's what I consider success. That conversation with that woman physician a year ago, that was success to me. That was her telling me that like, don't ever stop. It will be hard. Your journey won't be easy. There will be people who will question you. There will be people who will disagree with what you're doing, but continue going because there are people who are looking on to you, but then there are also others who are cheering you on. And I want to say the same thing. If you're here and you're like, I'm not sure, but I know I don't like it. I'm saying that reach out to me. I want to help you get on that journey of growth. And whatever that looks like for you, if it's not multifamily real estate investing, whatever that looks like, if you need that jolt, if you need that hand holding, because I got it. And it's like one of the best things that happened to me. Um, I love these pictures, but Vincent van Gogh said something a long time ago. He said, your profession is not what brings home your weekly paycheck. He said, your profession is what you're put here on earth to do with such passion and such intensity that it becomes spiritual and calling. And that quote resonated so much with me because that's how I feel every day when I wake up now, that I'm like, I really feel like I'm impacting lives. I'm helping people move forward in their lives, in their goals. They're actually thinking, hey, I can do this. I can grow wealth. But even more than that, like I don't have to be complacent anymore. I have dreams that I can go after. And that I'll keep saying that is success to me. Our numbers are great. We're growing. We're a young company. But even more than that is seeing other people who are thriving because they read something on LinkedIn or because they saw something or because the idea that they could grow wealth, that just brings so much joy to me. And I have another quote that I really like, and it's by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And he said, the purpose of life is not to be happy. It's to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, and it's to have some difference. And it's to have it make some difference that you have lived and you have lived well. And every day now I feel like I'm living and I'm living really well. And I can summarize those two quotes with the word impact. And it's like, I'm making an impact every day. And I want you to also think that way. The idea of change became a possibility for me when I started growing, when I built Phoenix, when I started doing the thing every day. And I want to tell you, this has not been easy by any chance. It has not been easy, but nothing good comes easy. You work hard, you dream first, and then you work hard and you do the thing every day to actualize that dream. And then it happens. I remember 2 years ago, right when I was starting Phoenix, I had done all the legwork. I had gone to the conferences, I had met people. And I remember the day that I created the LLC. I felt strongly that that was the day that I was going to do it. And it's funny because I can't remember the trip I was on, but I had just checked in my suitcase, and the airport, I was flying midday, and the airport was so beautiful and it was like empty. And there was this area that was like a fountain, and there was this flower pot next to it. And I just sat there. I hadn't gone through TSA. And I just sat there, and I opened up my laptop, and I did two things. I called Delaware, like the Center of Commerce where they created the LLC, and I called my lawyer. And I was like, this is the name. This is what I'm doing, and let's do it. And that was just how it started. And it was like, this was the beginning. And that was me that went from dreaming to actualizing and to start doing the work. So if you're in the dreaming phase, let's get past that. Dream, write it down, and then start doing, because that's then how it becomes a possibility. And that's how you start expanding your horizon. When all of this started becoming a reality, I started to really embrace the expansive life mindset. I realized that, like, I would no longer be complacent. I wouldn't be afraid. I wouldn't be timid. I wouldn't be unsure. I asked myself, who did I need to become in order to be the CEO of Phoenix Capital? And then much more. That's when I really started. I wanted to live life on my own terms, and I wanted others to see that it was possible, that they could do it, that they could dream and then make it a reality. Yes, it was passive investing and building wealth for me and for Phoenix community, but it was helping them grow and also living to their fullest potential. That was what brought me the most joy. And that's when I started to realize that, yes, this journey is possible. This journey is doable. This is what the expansive mindset is. This is what the expansive vision is. It's to be more, do more impact. And that's really when it started making sense to me. The next step, this is the next step, and I will keep it very simple. It's decide, leap, have faith, and take massive action. Done is better than perfect. It doesn't need to be, you don't have to have the perfect website. You don't have to have the perfect landing page. You don't have to have the perfect LinkedIn page. You don't have to have the perfect photograph. Nothing. You just need to decide and do. That's all you have to do. And you don't need to have all the answers before you jump. Just make the decision and do it, and decide that today you will start that journey. This slide, I've put this slide in because it gives me goosebumps when I think about our newest investment opportunity. I did not even think that 2 years ago I would be sitting here. Like, I didn't think that 2 years ago that happy hour that we were at, that one day, or like in a short span, that I would be partnering together with Excite on this amazing deal. But it goes to showing that, like, you can dream, and then you can take action, and you can do it, and it can become a reality. And it speaks not only to who I am and how hard I work, but it also speaks to them, who they are. It speaks to their character. It speaks to how they run business. They always say it. And Julius always says that he wants, other people in his community, in the Excite community, to build businesses. And they really meant it. And so to be an example of it just like, it's cool. It's a full circle moment. And it is awesome, humbling, exciting, all the things. And it just makes me know that like you can work hard and you can dream and then it can become a reality. You just have to decide. The big thing I'll keep saying is decide and take action because that's all it is. So as I wrap up, I had some resources that helped me in my journey, and I wanted to create something for you guys, and I've shared it with our community as well. But when I started, there, I had to look hard for resources, and I had to look hard for how to grow, and so from that area of pain and from that area of like growth, I started creating free resources that I would share to the Phoenix community. And I also wanted to share it with you guys today, just to support you as you grow in your journey, wherever you're going. If it's real estate, if it's personal development, I have all of it for you. So pull out your phones and you can scan these QR codes. But the first one is we created an ebook a few months ago, and it's how to start investing in multifamily real estate with little to no experience. So it's how to find the right partners, how to vet operators, how to review deals. All of it is in here, and it's just a great resource for you to start learning and for you to like jump in and take action. Once again, it's about taking action, so start. And then this last one is near and dear to my heart. And when you decide to take that first step of growth, and when you decide that, I'm going to start entrepreneurship, I'm going to build something, if that's what you want to do, you'll face a ton of barriers, and you'll face things that scare you, and you'll ask yourself, how do I do this? How do I do that? So I created a workbook, and it's really, it'll help you embrace a life of abundance and freedom, but it just has practical tools on how to grow, and it'll keep you accountable, and it really, truly will help you grow. So those things have been really helpful to me, and I just wanted to share them with you. And on that note, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to Excite for giving me this opportunity again, but I also want to say thank you to everyone who's listening and giving me the opportunity to share my story. This is, I'm really excited for where I'm going, for where Phoenix is going, and for the impact that I'm really going to make to our community. I'll say it again, and I don't take it for granted, all the blessing that I have, all the things that have, all the people that I've met, all the lives that have, all the people that have impacted me, and all the lives that I've impacted. And so I'm excited to see what the next years hold. So thank you so much for your time. If you want to connect with me, that's my LinkedIn. That's like where I'm always there. I'm on all social media platforms, but LinkedIn is like the way that I really love to like engage with people, to grow with people. So I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. And that's all I got. Before I go, I want you guys to ask me questions. If there's someone who, and my email address, I'll put this just in case you don't want to ask questions, but you're interested. And if you don't have LinkedIn, my email address is simple. It's Nkem, Nkem @phcinvest, one word, .com. So Nkem @phcinvest.com. Shoot me questions, but I'd love to answer any questions right now. If anyone has any questions, comments, concerns, all the things, let's go. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing.
All right, Dr. Kim, thank you so much. That was so touching. You almost made Leslie cry. I'm talking about myself anyways. That was really, really touching story. Thank you so much.
You're
I
welcome.
think the chairman is here, so I'll pass it on to my chairman to continue.
Yeah, thank you so much. And Cam, I've obviously heard your story. I've been part of it, as we all have been at Excite Capital. But even every time I get to hear it, listen to it, engage with it, it's still very inspiring. And yeah, just like I always tell you, you are going to do some great things in this world, and it's just the beginning. We feel very lucky at Excite Capital to count you as one of our very dear friends and mentees in some sense. I see other friends and mentees of ours in the audience that are also towing the same paths. I see Leah and Jeremy Crabson. I see others. And I know that we all kind of working together, growing together. And for me, seeing you do what you're doing and seeing the growth that I'm also seeing in so many of our team members, our community members at Excite Capital, it just warms my heart, and it shows us that we are doing the right thing, that truly those core values that we said we were going to stick to at Excite Capital, we have truly stuck to them, and we are seeing through what we promised we were going to do. And I cannot wait to see you fully blossom, because I know you're just getting started. I told you already that you're going to be massive, you're going to be big, and my joy will be the day when you get even bigger than Excite Capital, So, because that's just what it's all about. But be rest assured, we're going to be doing a lot together now, in the present, and into the future. We'll certainly be, keeping you accountable, as we expect you to continue to keep us accountable. And we look forward to having more people like you, like others, join us in this journey of growth, where we can all continue to live the lives of our dreams, and continue to pursue the true purpose that we were put on earth to do. I would end with this. When you talked about, taking action and just not waiting for it to look pretty, obviously that resonates incredibly with me, especially with my recent decision to move to another part of the world to advance the world of musculoskeletal care in that part of the world. For me, it wasn't perfect. It didn't, I still feel some sense of trepidation about it. But last Friday was my last day of being an employee, and it feels really strange. The checks stopped coming in, and and no matter how comfortable you are, that's a really strong drug. You do get some withdrawals, and I know I'm just getting started, but at the same time, this is the most alive I've ever felt in a long time. I truly just feel like I am living truly in my full purpose, and I am seeing through the purposes, the goals, the visions that I've seen so clearly in my mind, but that it took me a little bit of time to get to actualize. So thank you again for reminding us of the power inside of us that we need to unleash onto the world. And we will take questions from any audience members at this time.
I think Amber had her hand up.
Amber, please go for it.
No, my apologies. I did not. Thank you so much for your presentation. I've really enjoyed listening to you and your story. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Amber. Really appreciate that.
I think we have some questions in the comment, my chairman.
Oh, fantastic. Let's go right there. Questions. Oh, wow. We do have some questions. Reginald was asking, how did the name Phoenix come about? I think you touched into it a little bit, but maybe you could tell us the full story.
I'll share the full story. So when I decided to start growing, the big thing that I decided was to go from complacency to soaring. And so it was like almost like I felt like I was dead and I was coming to life. And so that's where the name, and to embody that was the Phoenix bird. And so that is where the Phoenix comes from. But because I'm a woman, and I started doing research on female feminine versions of the name Phoenix that mean the same thing. So this is the Phoenix spelling, if I would spell it, is it's from a European descent. I can't remember exactly where it's from. I'll tell you, but that is the name, the spelling. So it means the exact same thing, which is soaring, which is rising from the ashes, but it's just a different spelling and it's a feminine name.
Fantastic, fantastic. Leah was asking that would love for you to share the list of books that really helped you understand business, finance, etc.
So, Leah, so for the first time, I started with books on personal development. So I started with 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And I did that book. I read that book with a friend, and we like kept each other accountable on chapter by chapter, how to grow, how to become a better version of yourself. That is a book that I recommend to read slowly and to really go through it and do what it says. And then I really liked, when I started thinking about really leadership, I read Dare to Lead by Brene Brown, and that book was also a really good book. I also read Seven, the Stephen Covey book. I really like that one. Seven,
Seven
effective.
habits
The
of
7 habits of highly
Yes.
effective people.
Yep. So, and that was when, like, those are the books that I really used to grow. And then for real estate investing books, the first book I read was Best Ever, the Best Ever apartment syndication book. But I didn't read this book like just read it. I did everything the book said. So like when the book said, create this, become a thought leader, start talking, start writing, start doing a webinar, start doing all, I just took it and I said, this is what I want to do. I'm going to do it. If this is someone who's done it, who's been successful, I did that. Then I also read Multifamily Millennia Volume 1 and 2. And I just read that to get like basic information, basic knowledge. And that book is really good for when you're talking to investors, when you're talking to like investors who just don't know about multifamily. The book is it's a simple read. So if you can read that and explain that to yourself and understand that, that was really helpful. And then I read Tony Robbins' book. I've talked about him a few times, but I read The Holy Grail of Investing, and that just talked about like finance, alternative assets. That was also another book I read, and I read a ton of, and then I read this book. This book is just a book that every woman should read. And it just says that that you can be the best
I've read
that
that
you
one.
ever like. So also that's another book. One of my colleagues gave me this book because he said,
Yeah.
you embody this and you should read this, and I loved it. So yeah, so there's some of the books, and Leah, like I can send you more. I have a note on my phone that has all the books I've read and all the ones I want to read. I will shoot that to you.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Beautiful. Also, fantastic response. Onelia, Dr. Lemonius was just asking, love your story. Excellent. I have questions. Yeah, but Zoom is not working. I'm a practicing anesthesiologist currently at similar crossroads as you were 2 years ago. I took a real estate mastermind in January, but I found myself mid-year, still haven't found the momentum. Can you touch on your initial investment, the transition from passive to active, and where you are now? She'll definitely shoot you an email too.
I would love it. Okay, so this I'm gonna laugh. Dr. Lemonius, my first investment was with Excite Capital, and it was their deal in Columbia, South Carolina, and it was a deal that is cash flowing. The deal is doing amazing, but I will tell you this: that was my in. I told them that if I invested in a deal, then I would ask every question. I would figure out everything about the deal. I would learn everything. Every financial statement that came, I was going to read it. I would text them, ask them questions. Like, I had no shame because I was like, if I'm going to figure this thing out, and I'm now in one of your deals, I'm now one of your partners, so I can ask anything. And that was how I went from, I did that one, and I did another deal, and I did a third deal. And after that, then I became, and then I moved over to active investing. But I think that when you start I think that the best way to start is as a passive investor, because then you really have access to understand the financials. You really are, you're part owner of the property. And so you have all the access, and you can learn. the thing is that some people just want to be passive investors and they stay that way. But if you really want to be, if you want to move over, you can start with masterminds. But I think, at least what I can speak for myself, what I did was I was a passive investor first. And that gave me the in to really understand the ins and outs of how, how things went, what the financial statement every quarter looked like, what they were spending stuff on. It was very helpful for me. And that's how I started. I would love to kind of answer any other questions. If you're thinking about becoming an active investor, I'll lay out kind of what I did, how I did everything.
Fantastic. Awesome answer as usual. I think there was one question that just came in from KK. Do your investors have to be accredited?
Good question. So KK, the deal that we currently have active right now, it's not only for accredited investors, but future deals, when you build, and I'll kind of go into a little bit, for non-accredited investors, we have, when you build a substantial relationship with me or with Excite or with any other syndication company, then you have access to, if you're a non-accredited investor, then you have access to some deals. And so it just really starts with building that relationship, talking to us, kind of following us, getting on our, in the community and the listserv, so that when those opportunities come from non-accredited investors, you have access to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Couldn't have answered it any better. Any other questions? Oh, great. The Omar, this is awesome. You're going to make me really read right now, but for the purpose of everyone, I will. Thanks for sharing your inspiring story, Dr. Nkem. You are where I dream of being someday. I'm currently an FMP student with 9 months to go until graduation, first-gen American, first-gen college student, and coming from a low-income background, and now carrying a lot of student debt from MP school. I often feel a tremendous amount of stress from the debt that I'm carrying and wonder how I will ever get out. After doing my homework, my dream is to become a large-scale multifamily real estate investor to support my community and my family and help the world. For someone like myself who is just beginning in their career and faces many barriers growing up, what would you recommend is the best way to get started on the path to becoming an investor?
Omar, congratulations. You are on the path to success and you're asking the right questions. I will say, and the only thing I know is kind of the steps that I've taken and what I've learned from other people. But I would say that the first thing that you need to do is finish school. And the next thing that you need to do is spend some time investing in yourself and spend some time growing and spend some time learning. Start with books. Books are free or books are cheap, and you can learn a lot from there. And I think that until then, before you'll be ready to take action. And like I said, I started as a passive investor. That's a great way to start growing wealth. This is not a get rich quick scheme. You're not going to make thousands no, you're not going to make millions in your first deal, but you're going to start somewhere. So I think that the first best thing to do is you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and you are almost done. Put your head down, finish. But as you're doing it, start investing in yourself, start learning, start reading, start growing, start coming to meetups like this, start networking with people, jump on LinkedIn, call, send a message and be like, hey, I see what you're doing. Can I get time on your calendar? Can I learn from you? Like any one of us would do that. Any one of us would be excited to kind of help you on your journey. But that would be my advice on how to start.
I have a question for you.
But if I may add, Les, before you pass on to the next question, work really hard and make a lot of money too.
That too.
Because you're coming out, you have all the students loan, you want to invest, you got to make a lot of money. Try as much as possible to work really hard, set the goal that for a particular period of time, I'm going to make as much money as possible while you're learning, while you're thinking about investing. Because Dr. Nkem, myself, Dr. Oni, Leslie, the only way we were able to do this was because we worked really hard, made good income, and that was what actually helped us to invest. So please don't negate the fact that you've gone to this school, you're studying, and you have all this debt. You definitely need a job, make money, and then from there you can use this cap. Don't blow it. Save the capital and use the capital to invest in yourself so that you can get financial freedom.
So
Yes,
that leads into the question I had. I kind of know the answer to this question, but I think it's important you tell the audience. Well, how much would you estimate that you've invested in yourself personally since you started this journey? Financially.
Okay, so you guys, let me just I have to put a disclaimer first. And I'm that person that like a few years ago, I was like, these people are crazy. I was like, these people are, I'm like, I really maybe thought, what are they smoking? And I was, I just, all I did was invest in books and invest in school. It took a long time, I'm not gonna lie, for me to switch that. But I have spent a lot of money growing myself and growing who I am, how I think, the people around me. I will say that I have spent over, gosh, I'm just gonna say it because I've probably spent over $100,000, and that might not be, to me, that's a lot of money, but the return on investment continues to it just keeps growing. And so, and I'm telling you this to say that, like, I had student loans, I had med school loans. If you ever asked me 4 or 5 years ago, like, I would tell you, are you kidding me? Like, go do something else with that money. But I'm saying that, like, I could have put that money in a deal, but the return that I've gotten in myself, in my growth, in where I'm going, in the people that in the people that I'm now surrounded by, I would pay it again. And trust me when I tell you, I would never ever have said this, but now I can say it with confidence, and I'm seeing the return every day. So I don't want to discourage anyone here who doesn't have the money, who's like, well, how will I ever grow? Honestly, you don't have to have all that money. The little that you have, you start there, but pour into yourself. You have to become the type of person that dreams, that can go after these big goals. And it has a lot to do with, like, I'll speak for myself, like, as a Nigerian woman, a lot of these things weren't taught to me. It wasn't how I was raised. So I had to do a lot of work in changing my mindset. And honestly, it wasn't free. Like, if you want to grow, it wasn't free. But I'm not saying that you have to invest that much. I am saying whatever you can, start small. Start, if there's something that you're like, okay, I can pay into this. And I said that before, I'll say it again, proximity is power. So sometimes I just pay to be in the right room with the right people, because that can expand your growth. So yes, like I said I was going to be candid, I was going to be honest, but yes, I've spent a lot of money.
Awesome. Mr. Sunday Fawale, and if you're doctor, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Dr. Sunday Fawale asked, would you advise diversified investment if you have limited funds, or put the little you have in one investment rather than dividing your funds in different investments?
Good question. And this is my answer. And if anyone else has something different, please share. So, Dr. Fawale, if you're just starting out, I want to say this, like, you're not going to do everything today. So don't feel like you have to, don't feel like you're missing out on everything. Like, as you work, as you make more money, then you start diversifying, then you start putting funds in other things. So I would say, like, I wouldn't say put 5,000 here, 5,000 there. No, I would say if you have the minimum investment, put it in one deal. You're going to work hard, you're going to see return, and then you're going to get proof of concept. You're like, okay, this makes sense. You work harder, you make more, and then you put it in other things. And I'll say this, and I'll be honest, like I said, I love real estate investing. And this is where I've started putting a ton of my funds to grow for the future. But I still invest in stock market, and I still invest in my 401k, and I still invest in insurance. All of these things are building me and my portfolio. So it's not just one thing. Yes, I love real estate. And like I said, a lot of my capital these days are going towards that. but I'm not sinking everything into that. I am still putting in other different asset classes in order different types of investment opportunities and investment vehicles. So to answer your question, don't feel like you have to do everything today. And so you're going to split it tiny in everything. Pick one, do one, and then you work, you make some more money, you put it in something else, and you do that. And I think then that way you're diversifying into different things. It's just taking a little bit more time.
Fantastic. Natasha Hopkins also responded to Omar to say that Omar should consider working for a nonprofit or not-for-profit that serves the underserved and apply for a HRSA loan repayment, and obviously still work hard and use the money acquired to save or saved to invest. So thank you for that, Natasha. But Natasha also asked the question, how much should you have to get started?
Natasha, for our deals, our minimum investment is $50,000.
I like that. So great, nice and short response.
Do you want to Natasha, do you want to clarify if asking how much you need to get started as an investor or to get started as on the active side?
Oh, great. Oh, thank you. Good question.
Fantastic.
Both.
Both. Good.
Okay, so
well, it seems like Monelia wants to know if you're excited to have in-person meetups throughout the year. Absolutely. Typically, when we go into a new city, either for a meeting or for a conference or anything like that, we usually have a meetup. So we've done this in Miami, in Atlanta, in Charlotte, North Carolina, in Baltimore, Maryland, Washington, D.C. So we've done it in different cities. And so certainly stay tuned. There will be something coming to a city near you shortly. So just stay close to us. Thank you.
Natasha, to answer your question, I'll just give you a quick breakdown. So I would say to start, I would just say at least have 100,000. And you're probably, and the reason why I said that is as you start, you will eventually, there'll be fees that you have to pay. There'll be, like, if you want to decide to do a mastermind or a mentorship, you're going to also put money into that to help you grow faster. And then, like, if you even wanted to start thinking about hiring, even if it's something small, if you're really thinking about becoming an active investor and growing, then you're going to have to think about that as well. Even if it's like just something as simple as a virtual help or a virtual assistant, so money will go towards that as well. And then there's a lot of, there's a lot of softwares that there's just a lot of applications that you end up also having to do. And you don't have to start off. There's a lot of things that you can start off as a free version of like Active Campaign as you're building your CRM or simple stuff like that. So like there's ways that you can do it, but I would say you do have to have a significant amount of money. And also you have to think about time. So, you could start and you might not find a deal for 9 months or a year. So if you're going to start, then you have to think about having capital that will last you for maybe 2 or 3 years as you start building, because you're not going to wake up and be super successful day one. So you have to build, and that takes capital.
And Natasha was like, that's the problem I have to deal. So maybe can you answer how she can leapfrog that challenge or problem?
Natasha, everyone is having the same problem. So I will tell you, we had been looking for a deal for 9 months. And before Excite found their deal, they had been looking for the deal for 17 months. So this is what I mean by time. You have to put in the work. The deals are coming. The market is softening. So things are looking up, but it's taking time. And that's exactly what I thought. So don't feel you're not the only one. I struggle with this every day, and Grace is on the call, and Grace is my acquisition associate. And we're like, where's our deal? We're looking for it. We're constantly looking for it. So no, you're not the only one.
And
Natasha, you're not alone.
Yeah, Natasha, if it's helpful, please reach out to Dr. Nkem or reach out to Excite team. we can help talk to you about deals. What are some of the things we're doing today to find deals? What are some of the strategy we're using to source deals? It doesn't mean when you see the first one that's going to be the deal.
Yeah.
We have to go through over 2,000 deals, and it's painful. But the market is beginning to open, and we're hopeful about that. And of course, we have this deal that Dr. Nkem is talking about right now. But please reach out. We can share our strategy with you, and hopefully we can help you get your deal, okay?
Awesome. And on the other was Dr. Lemonius was asking, can one have a real estate business that invests in this deal?
Yes. The answer is yes.
Yes. The answer is yes.
And just to add a comment to the deal flow, today I actually got about 6 off-market deals sent to me from like different brokers in different markets, and I'm not even an acquisitions team. And these are deals that are loans are coming due that are distressed, brand new deals that we're seeing at discounts. So again, if you're on the sideline thinking about getting into multifamily on the active side, there's no better chance than now. I wish when we started in 2019, we were seeing some of the things that I'm seeing right now. So now is the time. Natasha, if you've been hitting the pavement, keep hitting it. More deals will come. But I do feel like the market has finally opened up. That's one of the reasons why we're able to get the deal that we got at a good discount. So yeah, so if you're looking to do this, align yourself with the right set of people and get started, because now is probably the best time to get started in multifamily real estate.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Leslie. Do we have any other questions before?
I do. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, Bernard. How are you? Please
Pretty
go
good.
for
How
it.
you doing?
Wonderful. Thank you.
Fantastic. If you had $2 million today at your disposal in cash, would you put it all in one deal? And I heard your response to that question earlier, but knowing what you know now, where you are on your journey, would you put that $2 million cash in this deal now that, of course, Parkview, or you would just still diversify and spread it out, put some in this deal, and possibly put some, like you said, in your other investments? How would you invest that $2 million that you have now at your disposal, your cash?
Me personally,
Yeah, you.
I would not put all of it into one deal. I would not. I would, like, there are great deals out there. There are great other vehicles. Let all the money grow. So I wouldn't put all of it. I would put a significant amount, but I would not put all of it. Please, anyone else, if you think differently, tell me why or tell me what you're thinking, but I personally would not. And it's not, and it has nothing to do with, like, I trust the deal. The deal's great. I'm clearly in it, and I'm investing in it as a passive investor. So I'm in it, but I wouldn't put all of it in one deal.
That's a beautiful answer. If I'm to add, it's definitely not a smart move to put all of them in one deal, because that 2 million, you can basically stretch that 2 million significantly, and you can diversify. Even if you want to do real estate, you can invest in several real estate deals to minimize your risk. See what I'm saying? Because what happens is when you invest in different portfolio or different deals in different locations, they have different market dynamics. And with that, you're able to kind of spread the risk across. If you want to do real estate, you kind of help minimize your risk a little bit, your risk exposure a little bit. That's what I would do if I want to deploy it across real estate. But like the Nkem said, if you have interest in other asset classes as well, you can put some over there as well. So I wouldn't put 2 million in one deal.
For me, if I had 2 million, I'll put it in this deal. But then, if with the caveat that I have to make another 2 million to put in another deal. Actually, Bernard, Tony Robbins wrote a whole book about this, and he calls it the Holy Grail of investing, right? Where he says the Holy Grail of investing, according to Ray Dalio, is diversification. And when he talks about diversification, he's not talking about diversifying stocks or this and that, right? It's like, a true diversification is when you diversify across assets that are not correlated with each other. Private real estate investments, which is what we do, is uncorrelated. And I did a good illustration of this the other day when I was doing our asset presentation to our investors. You could see across our portfolio, every asset is acting completely different from the other one. It's completely independent, right? It doesn't matter, although commercial real estate is crashing, you have assets that are making like 16% growth in revenue, while others are doing like 2%, or others are doing like 8% growth in revenue. So they're really not correlated to each other. What determines their success is that locality where the asset is located and the actual business plan of that asset. So by diversifying like that, you significantly decrease your risk and increase your upside potential. That's what he calls the holy grail of real estate investing. So I kind of see the point of diversification as well.
I think I agree with all of the answers that's been given. If I had $2 million like Leslie, I'll probably put it right in this deal because I believe that much in it. And all the dynamics of this deal just makes sense. But that's also because I'm already diversified into so many other verticals like angel investments. I've maxed out my typical 401ks and all the extra other executive retirement accounts that are possible. I have the backdoor IRA, all the usual stuff that they say. But if the 2 million was my first 2 million ever, the answer would be exactly what I think Cameron 10 said. I would certainly diversify it because it just makes no sense to put that in just one deal.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you. And my next question is, you invested $100,000 in yourself. That investment, right? That mindset, because of course, I know we need to work on our mindset every single day. Did that investment make you more impulsive in the sense that it got you off the sidelines to make a move and just get involved in investments? Is that what it did? Or that's a fraction of it?
That's a fraction of it. It taught me to ask the right questions. It taught me really it changed. I'm not kidding when I tell you that it changed how I saw life. And it's like I said, I wasn't taught this growing up. And so I really looked, it was like almost a different lens in how I see life. Yes, I invested more quickly. I also understood, I started taking more calculated risk. And you're right, I stopped staying on the sidelines. But a lot of what it did for me was that it just opened my eyes and my lens to a world that I wasn't aware of. And it really taught me that anything is at my fingertips. It's no longer like, I can become this person. I can grow into this. There's now, Bernard, if you told me that I can't do something, I'll tell you it's not true. And I'll tell you that I am capable and I have everything that I need in order to do whatever that is. And that I would pay for that again, because I'm no longer afraid. Like yes, I have fears and I have doubts, but I'm not afraid of trying. I'm not afraid of showing up anymore. And like I said, I can now become the person who sits here and has this conversation with you. And I hope I impact you, but that's also like, it's become bigger than that. So those are the things that I paid for, and those are the things I would pay for again.
If I may just add, just like, whenever I want to like get a little more buff, I go to the gym and I work out and get a little more muscle. I think working on the mindset in the framework of learning from people who have walked this pathway before you works just that same way. We also at Excite Capital invested a whole lot of money, also in the six figures, into ourselves over time, and we're still continuing to. It's just part of what we do, because no matter how high, the higher you get, the higher you actually start learning even more. Because I mean, now when we go to some of this conferences, that some of these masterminds and conferences will cost easily, $15,000, or $20,000 for each one of us. That's 60K, right? And just for a few days, and you would imagine like, wait, why would you spend that much amount of money for just a few days at a conference? But guess what? In those same conferences, I can't tell you how many more doors have opened, just because the kind of people that you're going to be interacting with in some of those situations, people who also have similar mindsets and are trying to go just as far and as wide and as deep as you are trying to go. And it just opens your mind to like all the possibilities. Those things that you were so scared of, you realize that, maybe I'm actually doing better than this person here. Or maybe, this person actually had less resources and they're doing so much, they're doing it so much faster and so much better and so much more efficiently. What it does is it allows you to be less inefficient with your decision making much later, and allows you to avoid all those missteps that you would have easily. I mean, you seem like a person who's already sharp on their mindset, who already has like that great predisposition to achieving great things. But sometimes just having that person as your accountability partner, who is like saying, you know what, avoid that, or you know what, I'm going to introduce you to these two choices of please give me a second. Give me a second. Yeah. So just to give you, these are my kids. Of course, they're always going to barge in. So just to say, you know what? Take these two names of lawyers down, interview them, see which one works for you. But we know that these two people are at least going to be good for you. Or these are the names of some brokers that you can explore instead of you now coming up with 100 names, going through them. I'm just trying to give you like exact, very specific examples of how this speeds up the process for you. And so that's what we have found. And I was one of the biggest skeptics when it came to spending a lot of money on this type of thing in the first place. But I've flipped 180 degrees now. I would invest in myself in a minute and not think about it, because the returns is like, it's been 10x for me over the last several years of doing it. So I hope that answers your question.
I just want to add something because Dr. Nkem talked about you need $100,000 to start. I'm gonna say when I started, I didn't have $100,000, but I had a job that paid me well, and at least I knew I had the resources to continue investing in myself. And that's what Tenny emphasized, that maintain your job, then start leveraging your job to invest in yourself. And before you know it, you're going to get to a point where you probably invested more than all of us have, but you've grown so significantly that you don't recognize the person that you are.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thanks, man.
And I would just like to add that investing in yourself does not always have to have money involved. I think it's important to highlight that investing in yourself is all those books that she was talking about reading, surrounding yourself with people who are always going to push you forward. I can tell you that some of the people that has advanced our growth the most are not necessarily the people that we've actually paid to learn from. It's like, but what happens is that the stuff that you learn from some of these rooms that you pay to be in also puts you in a position to now meet those people who truly just, are either invested in you for one reason or the other, or you've just given some other value to them that, like for example, one of my mentors right now, I mentor his kid, and he in turn mentors me. I mentor his kid in medicine. He mentors me in real estate and in life in general. And that's just, and I didn't ask for him to do that. He chose to say, you know what? I see what you're doing for my progeny. I just want to provide value to you also. And you're going to eventually find yourself in those situations. But when that is not readily there yet, how do you speed that up? How do you, kind of start taking that first step to go on that journey of 1,000 miles? Yeah, one of the ways to expedite that is through some of this masterminds, coaching programs, things of that nature. So
Thank you. Thank
you're
you.
welcome. And I just want to be sensitive to people's times. I know we're about 3 minutes over, and I know it's just because everybody's so excited and we're asking a lot of questions. I realized that you could be anywhere else in the world, but you're here with us. We have this meetup every Monday, first Monday of the month. And next meetup is also going to be just as exciting, just as engaging. Obviously, Dr. Nkem is always a tough act to follow, just because she is so inspirational. But we look forward to seeing you again. This is the exciting world of multifamily meetup, presented to you by Excite Capital. And we, the host, myself, Dr. Julius Only, the CEO at Excite, Dr. Mr. Leslie Awesome, and Dr. Mr. Tani Tolafari.
I'll say doctor.
Yeah, so anyways, thank you so much, everyone. And we just appreciate you. Look forward to seeing you next month.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Thank you all. Take care.